Today we're going to discuss how Muhammad completely, and I mean completely, disqualifies himself as a true prophet.
Well, I guess that's it, guys. I guess I'll have to delete the channel now. Cameron Pepperoni has figured out why Islam is false. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Islamic podcast. It's been a while. Welcome to the new year. I actually wanted to make this video a while back, but it got delayed because I was kind of sick. I'm still kind of sick, actually.
I don't feel so good.
If I sound a bit strange, it's because I have a cold. Today, we're going to react and respond to Cameron Pepperoni, Captain Christianity.
Not this guy again.
Recently, he made a video where he basically claimed that Prophet ﷺ is a fake prophet. And he said that he can prove why he's a fake prophet, right? So let's hear his argument and let's see what he says, and then I'll make my response.
Today we're going to discuss how Muhammad completely, and I mean completely, disqualifies himself as a true prophet based on his own claims in the Quran. Forget every other argument you think you have for Islam. This one point alone is enough to show that he's a complete fraud. And once you see this, there's literally like no going back.
Oh, scary! Oh, shiver my timbers!
Like, how arrogant or stupid do you have to be to actually claim something like this?
Stop it. Get some help.
According to Muhammad, Jesus predicted that a future messenger would come after him and his name would be Ahmed, which is basically just a variant of Muhammad's name. So let's put Muhammad's claim through the same 4-question test that we used for Joseph Smith. Question 1. Did a previous prophet predict your coming? Muhammad's answer: yes. He claimed that Jesus, the son of Mary, foretold his coming by name. In Surah 61:6 of the Quran, Jesus is quoted as saying, "I am truly Allah's messengers to you, confirming the Torah which came before me and giving good news of a messenger after me whose name will be Ahmed." Question number 2. Can we check this prophecy? Is there a record that we can verify? Muhammad's answer: no. I was foretold in these exact words by Jesus. However, all records of these exact words have disappeared. There is no document and no memories of this foretelling. We should actually take a moment and talk about how ridiculous this is from a historical standpoint.
So in Quran 61:6, it says that, "O children of Israel, I am truly Allah's messenger to you, confirming the Torah which came before me, and giving good news of a messenger after me, whose name will be Ahmed." And there's nothing in this verse that says that this is something that is even written down, right? It's something that could be said in passing. Or to expect that Muhammad Sallallahu is mentioned in my kind of like New Testament canon of like 64 books, it's a straw man. Nowhere does it say that this is something written down. Cameron, let me ask you an honest question. Do you as a Christian honestly believe, and I'm being serious here, do you as a Christian honestly believe all these 4 books that you have from unknown authors recorded every single thing that Jesus said? Do you honestly believe that? If you actually believe that, then either you're a very stupid person, you don't understand how historical recording works, or you're just naive. And I don't know what to say either way. So he starts the video with a straw man. And after all this hype, right? After all this, I'm going to prove Prophet Sallallahu is a false prophet, right? Guys, this is going to prove it, guys. It's a straw man.
Today we're going to discuss how Muhammad completely, and I mean completely, disqualifies himself as a true prophet.
Ignoring the fact that Bible is not historically reliable, even if Bible was historically reliable, nowhere is it saying that this is something that was even written down. This is something that could be mentioned to his disciple. That doesn't mean the disciple is going to write everything down.
Now let me address a future objection some Christians might throw at me. There is another verse that mentions that Prophet Muhammad is mentioned in the Bible. It is mentioned in verse Quran 7:157, where it says, "Those who follow the messenger, the unlettered prophet, whom they find written in what they have of the Torah and the gospel." Firstly, this verse doesn't say he is mentioned by name in the Bible. So again, it would be a straw man if you claim this verse is talking about the same prophecy of Jesus regarding the name Ahmed. Secondly, we have no reason to think Bible they had back then is the exact same as the one we have now. There are many books of the Bible that are lost, so it's possible they are not referring to the same book. Also, I do believe prophet is mentioned in the Bible, although it's not by name. Check out my video on Vidu Vids, where I debunked Vidu and Hassan Radwan on this issue.
Let's start with the New Testament, which was written within 10 to 40 years of Jesus' death by people who either knew him directly or were close to the disciples. These are very, very early sources, much closer to the actual events than the Quran. You would expect something as monumental as a prophecy of a future prophet named Ahmed to at least appear in these very early documents. But as we examine the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, we find nothing. There's no mention of a future prophet by this name or anything remotely like it at all.
I mean, can you tell me what was the full entire Bible that's completely written down? What is the nearest date of that book? It's 400 years later. It's not close to Jesus' death.
These are very, very early sources, much closer to the actual events than the Quran.
Come here, let me slap you.
Sure, you can find some manuscripts about this size. That doesn't prove anything because they're contradictions. But anyway, that's beside the point. The point is that Quran is not claiming that this is written down. So it's a straw man. First of all, Bible is not historically reliable. Nothing about Christianity is historically reliable. But let's assume, let's be charitable. Let's assume for the sake of argument that the Bible and the Christian history is completely historically reliable. There's no problem there. Okay, fine, no problem. This is still argument from silence. So in case you guys don't know, argument from silence is basically when you make an argument where you say that because X is silent on this matter, therefore either does or does not exist. It doesn't logically follow. And I know that Cameron, you know this. You know this is a fallacy. You know full well this is a fallacy. And yet you're acting as if like it's not a fallacy. Right? As if you don't know about this. You're an innocent little baby boo. Right? You don't know anything about logical fallacies. But you know full well this is a fallacy. And yet you're preaching this to your audience, your gullible audience. Because they won't be able to catch you on these errors. But unfortunately for you, people like me will. And after all that hype, it just ends up another fallacy. It just end up another bad logic. Like you Christian polemics are the worst hype man I've ever seen. You do all this kind of drama and all this, right? At the end of the day, it's just a fallacy. Like, do better. Do better.
But that's not all. This period wasn't just limited to the New Testament writings, obviously. There were many people writing about Jesus during that time. We have early apostolic documents and letters from the first Christians, people who knew the apostles or lived within a generation of Jesus. These include the Didache, early 2nd century, a teaching manual attributed to the apostles.
No, he lied. Didache was written nearly 200 years after Jesus died. There is no chain of transmission. The thing is that someone could say that, oh, you know, just because it's written later doesn't mean it's not reliable. You're right. Just because something is written later doesn't mean it's not reliable. What makes it unreliable is the fact that we don't know where it's from. Right? We don't have a chain of transmission. It is written by unknown authors, so it's not reliable.
The epistles of Clement, late 1st century, written by a prominent Christian leader who also knew Peter.
Epistle of Clement is supposedly written by Clement the First. Now, what's funny is that it's written from 70 to 90 AD, almost 40 to 60 years after Jesus died. So these people never met Jesus. So how would they know what he said?
The letters of Ignatius of Antioch, early 2nd century. Ignatius was a student of the Apostle John.
Then he mentions letter of Ignatius, was supposedly written in the year 160 to 180 CE. What's funny is that Ignatius supposedly died in the year 108 to 110. However, his supposed letter was written in the year 160. How is that possible? So what? Like, did he die and then came back from the dead to 50 years later to write his letters?
Stop the cap.
How does that make sense? We know these are forgeries. Or most likely forgeries.
The Epistle of Barnabas, late 1st to early 2nd century, a widely read document in early Christian communities.
And then he mentions Barnabas. Again, Barnabas is from unknown author. There's no evidence he wrote it either.
The Shepherd of Hermas, early 2nd century, a popular Christian work that circulated among early believers.
Then he mentions the Shepherd of Hermas, is again nearly 200 years after Jesus died. So again, it's not reliable.
None of these writings at all, many of which were composed within a few decades of Jesus' death, mention anything about a future prophet named Ahmed or any prophecy about resembling what Muhammad.
So just listen to his argument, right? So basically he's saying that, oh look, their prophet is not mentioned in our books of unreliable, unnamed, and ancient documents with unknown authors. This proves that Islam is false.
I don't know why.
So, Which, by the way, even if there was a document, right, it still would be acceptable because it's argument from silence. Just because something is silent on a matter doesn't mean that this thing is either true or false.
These were some of the earliest Christian documents written at the time when the memories of Jesus' life and teachings were all very fresh on their minds.
You know, these unknown authors, they're like, oh, Jesus' memory is so fresh in my mind 200 years later after he died. Like, you should be a comedian. No, like, this is a joke. Like, none of this is reliable. Like, what are you talking about? The thing is that if you have some kind of oral tradition, right, which, by the way, there was, to be fair to the Christians, at the time, there was some kind of oral tradition. We know that from the writing, but the thing is that they don't mention their oral tradition. There is no chain. It's not mentioned there, right? So if there was some oral tradition, we could have verified it by checking with the oral tradition. But it's not there. Jesus' memory was so fresh, guys. Like 200 to 70 years later, he died.
You are made of stupid.
Question 3. Is there any other way to confirm this prophecy? Muhammad's answer, yes. He claimed that God re-revealed the exact words Jesus spoke, and these words were then passed down to him and recorded in the Quran. But the only source for this prophecy is in the Quran itself, a book literally written by Muhammad.
Like, do you know what a straw man is, Cameron? This is another straw man. Where did Prophet claim this? Where did he claim that, oh, you know, this is something that is verifiable if you read the Quran? He never said that. As a matter of fact, the Quran itself never said that this is something that was written down. So you're strawmanning the Quran and then strawmanning the Prophet and then looking for something that's not mentioned in the Quran. And then based on that, you're attacking the Prophet based on something he never said. So you're lying and then lying again and then lying again. It's a strawman after strawman after strawman. Like, do you want the Muslims to take you guys seriously? Because this is laughably bad. You can't be making arguments like this. Like, honestly, I feel pity for you guys. This is bad. These are bad arguments. Don't bring this in front of us.
Don't embarrass yourself in front of me.
It seems like there's a reason why Christianity is going extinct. It's because your intellectual tradition has become a joke. I mean, you have fallen a lot from the days of Thomas Aquinas. I will say that.
Question 4. Who told you about this prophecy? Muhammad's answer? Me. And again, just like with Joseph Smith, this makes the prophecy impossible to verify. It's his word against, well, nobody else's. There's no independent confirmation, no other records, just Muhammad's claim that God told him Jesus said it. So
why did he say that? Like, do you realize how bad of a straw man your arguments are? First of all, the Quran never claimed, again, I'm going to repeat, the Quran never claimed this was something that was written down. Then on top of it, you first strawman the Quran, and then you look for this evidence, even though the Quran never mentioned it. Then you say, oh, it's not mentioned there. Then you commit a fallacy. And then to justify the fallacy, you then strawman the Prophet again and say, oh, but he's claiming that it's there, but then he said it's not, right? And the only place that's there is in his book, right? But he never said that. He never said any of this. Like, what are you talking about? So Allah, man. And the thing is that even if he did say this, right, and it's lost and it's only found in our book, even that it would be an issue, especially if there are other ways of proving that he is a prophet of God, and there are other ways of proving he is a prophet of God. Even if this we let go of these things, right? There are plenty of reasons to think that the Prophet is a prophet of God, such as prophecies and miracles, something that you conveniently ignored, didn't you? Because you know that we have those things. And Muslims specifically focus on those arguments. As a matter of fact, we have entire volumes of books written on the prophecies of Prophet Muhammad. We have volumes of work detailing the miracles that are performed by Prophet. So for you to act as if like these things don't exist, it's lying by omission.
Now, at this point, Muslim apologists might claim that Muhammad's miracles, like the splitting of the moon, prove his prophethood. But here's the problem. Other than the Quran's say-so, none of our non-Muslim sources actually report this incredible event of the moon splitting in half or any of the other Islamic miracles. And then later Islamic sources reporting these miracle accounts only emerge 100 to 250 years after his death as very obvious legends.
Wait. Did you just say that if a record comes 100 to 200 years later, that's unreliable?
And then later Islamic sources reporting these miracle accounts only emerge 100 to 250 years after his death.
I wonder what other book comes 200 years later or 400 years later.
But that's not all. This period wasn't just limited to the New Testament writings, obviously. There were many people writing about Jesus during that time. We have early apostolic documents and letters from the first Christians, people who knew the apostles or lived within a generation of Jesus. These include the Didache, early 2nd century, a teaching manual attributed to the apostles. These include the Didache, early 2nd century.
Early 2nd century.
Can't be the Bible, can it?
Look at this dude. Wait till you see the. No, 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 no.
Like, do you see the contradiction in your argument? Like, are you serious? These books come 200 years later, guys. Then why do you accept the Bible? Why do you accept any of our books? Reject them. Throw them out the trash. You know, the thing is that, yes, some of our tradition does come hundreds of years later, but not all of them. See, you actually picked a really bad example. We have manuscripts of the Hadith tradition. When it comes to the Hadith tradition, this is mentioned extensively in the Hadith tradition, right? Extensively. And one of the earliest manuscripts of the Hadith tradition comes only 50 years after the Prophet's death.
Okay, I have to make a correction here. When I originally made the video, I was thinking of a manuscript that was supposedly from 50 years of Prophet's death. However, it turns out it was not the original work. It was just the copy of the original work. The earliest manuscript I can find is from Muwatta Malik. It is dated at 795 CE, when Imam Malik himself was alive. It is also only 120 years after the death of the Prophet, so it's still quite early. It's definitely earlier than 200-year claim that Christians and other Hadith deniers make.
Basically, the way Hadith tradition works is that someone sees something and then they write it down and memorize it. Then they teach their student, then they teach their students, right? This is how the chain goes. And the whole chain of process is written down, right? So you have an entire chain. And then when you have that entire chain, you can check it with other chains of the same narration to see if the narration is reliable or not. So we have an entire way of falsifying this information. This is something you don't have in your religion and your methodology. And what's funny about the Hadith tradition is that it's something you can verify yourself. Like, go to the bookstore, buy a Sahih Bukhari collection, right? And look at all the chain of transmission that they have. Then find the earliest narrator that you have in there and go to the market in the Arabic bookshops and try to find that particular author, right? And then find his book, look at the chain of transmission he has of the same hadith and see if they're the same hadith or not. And the thing is, they are the same hadith. This is how you know that our tradition of Hadith tradition is reliable. Because no matter how you check it, it's the same thing. Because the thing is that when hundreds of people are all saying that something happened, chances are it happened. Okay? And you cannot just get away by saying, oh, but these are just Muslims saying it. No, if hundreds of Muslims are saying something, chances are it happened. I mean, the thing is that when it comes to Jesus' crucifixion, you accept evidences that are a lot less reliable. So you should have no problem accepting this. It is also mentioned in the Quran, like chapter 51, 1 to 2, right? Where it said, the hour has come and the moon has split in two. And if they see a sign, they turn away and say it's pure magic. And the earliest manuscript that we have is the Birmingham manuscript, which actually comes from the time of the Prophet, right? It's actually from the time of the Prophet. And if you want the full book, right? If you want the full book, it's only 100 years after the Prophet died. So it's very early. And again, just like with the Hadith collection, we have a chain of transmission that goes back to the Prophet. That can be verified by other chain of transmission that also goes back to the Prophet. There's no way of saying that this is not reliable. Like, our tradition is not like your tradition. Like, your tradition has problems because you don't have a chain. If you had a chain, we wouldn't have an issue.
But more importantly, even if Muhammad did perform miracles, it still wouldn't matter. As Jesus warned in Matthew 24:24, for false Christs and false prophets will arise and perform great signs and wonders so as to lead astray, if possible, even the elect. Miracles alone are not enough to establish a true prophet.
I agree. You might be surprised, but I actually agree. I agree. Miracles alone does not prove anything. As a matter of fact, Dajjal, who we consider something similar to the Antichrist, right? He will also perform miracles, but obviously that's not enough, right? That's not enough to say someone is a prophet. The real criteria for someone being a prophet is, you guessed it, prophecies, right? And did the Prophet ﷺ perform, say, many accurate prophecies that are historically verifiable? Yes. We have entire genre, an entire book written about the prophecies of Prophet ﷺ. So when you combine the prophecies of Prophet ﷺ with the fact that he did perform miracles, with the fact that he has almost like 2 billion followers, which is like 1/2/8 of the entire population of the world, it is very, very likely that he is actually the prophet of God. There's someone else, some random person like Joseph Smith. Okay, when you combine these three factors, it becomes almost impossible to deny him and say that, oh no, he's just a fraud. No, you can't. Like, if you actually believe that you're just being dumb. Like, then there's nothing else I can say. With this, I want to end this video. Thank you guys for watching. If you guys like the video, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. And if you want to subscribe to the channel, share the videos. And if you want to support me, you can support me by becoming a Patreon or YouTube member. So yeah, I guess I will see you guys next time.